Hello and welcome to training for GITEP professional leads. This video is both for those who are new to the role or for existing professional leads who wish to update their knowledge. The GITEP course handbook has a full list of the roles and responsibilities of the professional lead in school. In this session, we're just going to focus on those key tasks needed in each of the trainees' placements. Before the placement actually starts, it's the role of the professional lead to ensure that appropriate mentors are chosen and that those mentors have completed recent training for the GITEP scheme. Although the subject mentor will put a timetable together for the trainee, it is the professional lead's responsibility to ensure that that timetable has been completed and that it has the appropriate number of lessons for the phase of the course. So in the parent placement 1, that would be 9 to 11 hours a week, moving up to 11 to 13 hours a week in the twin placement and 13 to 15 hours a week in parent placement 2. In addition to that, there must be one mentor meeting of 1 hour scheduled per week, and there should be one school-based professional studies session of 1 hour scheduled per week as well. Once that's uploaded onto Teams, then at GITEP Leadership we check that the trainee is getting that because that is their entitlement. Next, we need to ensure that the trainee has been attached to a tutor group, and the trainee should be going along to that tutor group really right from the start and getting to know those students. The professional lead also needs to make sure that all the relevant documentation is available. So, for example, the trainee will need access to things like the safeguarding policy, pupil data, anything else that they need to work as a member of that team during their placement. And finally, when the trainee arrives, please make sure that they've got access to all relevant systems so that they can actually complete their role. So, for example, IT systems, safeguarding systems, SIM systems, whatever it is you have at your school. As we've just mentioned, the trainee needs to load up a copy of their timetable into their area of Teams at the start of each placement. For parent placement 1 and for the twin placement, they also have induction tasks to complete. These are designed to ensure the trainee collects any data, information or documents that they need at the start of each placement. Now, this is their responsibility, but they may need support from the professional lead to access this information, and we ask professional leads to check that the induction tasks have been loaded up into Teams by the deadline. During the professional study sessions each week, we ask professional leads to check the logbook and to monitor the trainee's teaching file. We want to know if the trainee is completing the sections for the weekly subject pathway sessions and also for the weekly mentor sessions. We're also interested in checking that the agreed targets are SMART, and we also want to make sure that the logbook is signed off each week. The logbook is really important because we use this as part of our assessment for QTS. So if the trainee isn't completing this logbook, then we have very little to go on when we have to complete that assessment. There is very little input required for PGCE support from the professional leads, but we do ask that you check in with your trainees and help keep them on track. Safeguarding and wellbeing is also something which is the responsibility of the professional lead within school. And you may also need to support the mentor where needed, especially if they are new to the role or if any issues arise with their particular trainee. We know that both subject mentors and trainees find it difficult to write truly SMART targets. It's very easy to write quite a vague target such as improve the flow of a lesson, but this doesn't really tell the trainee what they need to do, and it doesn't give the subject mentor something concrete that they can evaluate in the next few lessons the trainee teaches. We do provide further training on setting SMART targets and mentoring, but you might find this overview useful. We suggest starting with a broad theme. In this case, I've suggested pedagogy as opposed to, for example, behaviour management or subject knowledge. From there, we then home in on something a bit more particular, in this case, explaining in lessons or improving explanations. And then finally, we know that the trainee wants to improve their explanations, so how are they going to do it? So on the third level down, we're then directing the trainee to a particular technique or approach. In this case, we're suggesting dual coding. The next step for the mentor is then to explain and demonstrate what they mean by dual coding and what good dual coding looks like. At GITEP, we highly recommend the use of walkthroughs, and these are provided to every trainee and every subject mentor. So in this example, dual coding is explained on page 70 of the walkthroughs. Part of the quality assurance role of the professional lead is to check that the targets that are being set for the trainee are SMART, and if they're not, then to provide support to the subject mentor and or the trainee to ensure that they are. One of the biggest aspects of the professional lead role is leading the school-based professional studies sessions in school. In Teams, you'll find we've set up a channel specifically for professional leads, and there is a folder in here for each of the 3 placements. You can see this on the right-hand side of the screen. In each folder, we've put resources to help you deliver those school-based professional studies sessions. The content of the sessions is directly linked to the core content framework, which is our curriculum for initial teacher training. It's also closely linked to the centre-based professional studies sessions that trainees attend outside of their school placements. And finally, it's really important that what we deliver is evidence-based. Whether the professional lead takes the school-based professional studies session or whether another expert colleague in school runs them, there are 2 key points to bear in mind. The first is that the curriculum must be covered. Now, in our curriculum document, you'll find under objectives, we've put the learn how to statements which come directly from the core content framework. The sessions must also be evidence-based. If you're ever in any doubt what this means, we always recommend going to the EEF website, as there are lots of really useful resources that you could use here. Alongside our curriculum document, we've developed materials that can support with the delivery of these sessions, and they can be found in Teams as shown on the previous slide. These materials include the objectives linked directly to the curriculum. We've also put in example pieces of evidence that you might find useful. We've included some suggested activities that you might use in the sessions. And we've put in follow-up activities or resources that the trainees might explore after the session. Now, you don't have to use these materials, but we hope you find them useful to get started and to ensure we all meet the required standards for delivery. There are other training materials that look at observations in a lot more detail, and these are largely carried out by the subject mentors. They should be completing 2 lesson observations per week for full-time trainees covering a range of classes. The observations should focus on a particular area or target, and the subject mentors should be completing a lesson evidence form, and at the end set up to 3 targets for the trainee. The professional lead role is really one of quality assurance. We ask professional leads to observe at least 1 lesson with the subject mentor and then observe the mentor feeding back to the trainee. This is an opportunity for the professional lead to see the trainee's progress and give them feedback, but it's also a really important opportunity to make sure that the mentor process is working correctly and they are giving good quality feedback to their trainee. Again, there are training materials that provide a lot more detail on completing the evidence bundles, but these are the sole responsibility of the professional lead. There are 4 evidence bundles across the year, 1 in induction. Bundle 2 takes place during Parent Placement 1 after the October half term. Bundle 3 takes place during the twin placement, and Bundle 4 takes place during Parent Placement 2. We recommend that professional leads prompt their trainees to choose a class early on in their placement as the focus for their bundle. They will need to collect data about that class and also decide upon the series of lessons they want to focus on, so the earlier they think about this, the better. The trainee should upload their completed bundle paperwork into their channel in Teams before their session with you so that you are able to open it and access it. During the bundle session, they'll go through that paperwork and you will have a professional learning conversation with them. We also ask that professional leads check the logbook and teaching file or evidence in that session. Professional leads should then go into the bundled document, either while the trainee is there with them or afterwards, and select the yes/no parts in the marking section to state whether or not the trainee has passed the bundle. You also need to select the statement at the bottom of the document which best indicates the quality of the presentation. Now you can add your own statement at the bottom if you wish, but this is optional. If on the one hand you think that the quality of the conversation and the quality of the written document don't match, you might want to put a comment at the bottom explaining your choice of statement at the end, particularly if you think that the learning conversation suggests a much better grasp of pedagogy than perhaps has been written up in the document. PGCE assignments are set and marked by our colleagues at the University of Bristol, and trainees have a specialist subject tutor from the university who introduce the assignments and are available to provide extra support. So there isn't a formal role for the professional leads here, but we do think it's important that trainees understand how the assignments link to the rest of the course. So we do encourage professional leads to talk to trainees about the assignments and to remind them of the deadlines. The first assignment takes place during Parent Placement 1 and is about SEND. Trainees have to select an SEND pupil to study, so they will probably need help identifying a pupil and then accessing that pupil's data. They may also need support arranging a day of lesson observations, as they have to do a pupil pursuit and watch at least 5 lessons with that pupil. The second assignment is about mid-term planning and is therefore very much related to the trainee's teaching practice in school. The third assignment is based around their subject specialism, so there will also be some support from the subject leads. The deadlines are shown on the calendar, so please be aware of these and just check in with your trainees regularly to make sure that they are keeping up to date. Wellbeing and support are one of the pillars of GITEP's curriculum intent and are also clearly identified in the ITT curriculum. The structure of our course means that support is available to trainees from a range of people throughout the year. This includes the subject mentor on a day-to-day basis, the professional lead as somebody more senior within their school, the subject lead as a member of staff they see every week across the entire year, and the GITEP leadership team. In addition, as students of the University of Bristol, trainees have access to the full range of student support services at the university. Sometimes our trainees may require further personal support to complete this course. For example, they may have medical needs, caring responsibilities, their own special educational needs, or there may be safeguarding issues. In addition, other trainees may simply find it difficult to make the required progress on the course. Where this happens, we have a trainee support handbook available on Teams that provides the information and guidance as to what you need to do. We recommend that you read through this document before trainees arrive at your school. We also recommend that you read through the GITEP safeguarding policy, which can also be found on Teams. Once again, there are more detailed resources available on how to complete the end of placement reports. These reports are completed by the subject mentor largely, and they should do it along with the trainee, so there should be no surprises when that trainee gets the report at the end of their placement. We recommend that the professional leads prompt the writing of the report perhaps a couple of weeks before the deadline, so perhaps to remind the subject mentor and the trainee that that deadline is approaching. Once completed by the subject mentor and trainee, these should be loaded up into the trainees channel in Teams, so it's now available for you to access. The trainee needs to make sure they've also added their own reflection on the placement on that document. Once again, there is a quality assurance aspect to the role of the professional lead here, and we ask that they check the report and then complete their own section, which includes commenting on the trainee performance against Part 2 of the teacher standards. Finally, the professional lead identifies whether the trainee has passed in the yes/no section and whether or not any further action is required. The final part of this process is that the subject lead and the GITEP leadership team can then access the report in Teams and complete the final part of the quality assurance process. As a school-based training programme, the role of the professional lead is vital to the success of our course. We therefore take the training and development of our professional leads very seriously. Training is provided for new professional leads throughout the year, and there are short video clips and other resources accessible via Teams on key aspects of the course that you can access at any time. We also run 3 course development days each year for professional leads and subject leads. On these days, we share updates and course information, provide additional training, and work together to develop certain aspects of the course. Partnership is another of the key pillars of the GITEP curriculum intent, and therefore the input of our professional leads to the course development is really key. Please do look out for information during the year in our GITEP newsletters. And finally, here is the full list of roles and responsibilities for the professional lead from the GITEP course handbook. We hope you found this session useful. Thank you very much for listening.